Okay, being 7 o'clock, do we have a motion to open our meeting?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good evening, everyone. This is a meeting of the Finance Committee. It is Wednesday, January 10th, 2024. On tonight's agenda, we're going to be talking about our upcoming FY25 budget schedule, liaison assignments. We have a set of minutes to approve, and we're also going to get an update with a memorandum from our town administrator and our town accountant, Nick Monticello. All right. So why don't we start with, because I think our schedule is going to kind of be determined based on some of the information that Mr. Kelly is going to provide us. So Mr. Kelly, if you want to start off, go right ahead.
All right. Well, as is usual for the staff, we went and made our estimates as far as what the revenue would be and the increase in revenue would be. And then we made an estimate on what the budget busters would be. And we are looking at anywhere from round figures 800,000 to $1 million deficit between our estimates of revenue and our estimates of what the budget busters will be. Now, admittedly, that's just the first pass. We haven't tried to rectify anything. We're just looking at it with the amounts we know potentially could come in and how restricted your increase in revenue is going to be. Now, I think rather than go through the memo, it's easier when you look at the sheet and you look at this sheet. The memo's great reading. It's a lot of background that the staff did some research, but
Nick, next time can we increase font?
What are your glasses?
Got from home.
Uh,
It's usually still 14.
to first start with the revenue increases. We're estimating approximately 265,000 increase in state aid. That's with a 3% increase in both UGGA and Chapter 70. We thought we were in line with that up until this week, and then the governor did a 9C cut of the existing budget for this year for $400 million because the state revenues have gone down. The governor usually announces local aid sometime in the middle of January, and House 1 is then issued. We think it'll probably be somewhere 17, 18, 19, 20 of January will be when the figures come out, but A&F had pretty much predicted a 3% increase prior to that. Proposition 2.5 is 542,436 and a quarter. Thank you, Nick. That is just a straight
Math computation.
math computation. Thank you. $100,000 for new growth. First year I was here, you were in 400,000 to 500,000. Last year it was 200,000. Looking at the permits, we're looking at 100,000 this year.
Well, it's not surprising based on the state of the national economy.
Yeah, exactly. Local receipts, we originally started at about 85,000 negative. We've refined that to 57.5 negative, decrease from last year. That is a very moving figure because the excise tax bills go out in February. When we see how that comes in, and what we're looking at, we're worried because a lot of people aren't buying new cars. And there are a number of other issues that we also were very conservative in the investment income prediction because of the fact that there were some one-time changes we did to spike investment income last year. It's not rosy, but we might be able to, when we refine our numbers, get local receipts as no change from last year. And the state assessments, that's just an estimate based on what they did last year. So we're looking at somewhere around 780,000 for increase in revenue. The budget busters, as in years past, Bristol County retirement, our original estimate was 97,956. In discussion with Bristol County, it's gone up to 107,704. Health insurance, that's our estimate right now. If we do what we did last year and put an article together and somewhere between $50,000 or $75,000, put it in the Mass Strategic Health Group Acushnet reserve account. The health group tells us that they could probably cut health insurance down substantially to maybe somewhere around 25 to 30,000 increase.
What would that 50,000 put away be for? Is that like a?
In other words, what they do in the group is they establish reserve accounts for each town. And last year we bought a major decrease from 15% to 10% when Harvard was saying 30%.
I remember, yeah.
We bought that decrease by offering to put $100,000 in that reserve account. So if we did a similar thing around 50 to 75, I'd say 50.
Was that reserve account ever tapped, the 100,000?
If we have catastrophic stuff, but it's only if it comes from us. None of the other
So we
towns.
control it, they don't.
Well, they control it, but it can only be expended for Acushnet.
Okay, but do we have say when it gets spent? Do we know when they are spending?
Oh, they would, yeah, we'd have knowledge of it, and we have a seat on the board of directors.
Okay.
That's one of the rabbits out of the hat. General insurance is a modest increase. Old Colony's a placeholder of 200,000. We'll have refined figures. That's because of enrollment.
Student enrollment's up.
They're becoming your high school.
Yep.
The school gave me a $300,000 estimate for their COLA. I think it might be light, but we'll see.
That's not consistent with something that we got, so.
Yeah.
How much did you get
Increase is 543, 548.
for the COLA?
For salary adjustments, yes.
Just salary adjustments?
Just salary
Not
adjustments.
increased positions?
Increase based on salary schedule, increase per contract. 543, 548.
That was, well, that's, well,
This is
yeah.
as of December 15th.
Yeah, because that was, that's based on their,
This is per the contract.
Yeah.
So that, it was
All
described as,
right, that's good. That's better than they gave us.
what do you mean better? They said 300.
There's a 300, so
This
it's
is an
Yeah, you
increase.
thought it was
No,
light.
I mean, it's
More
better that I have
Oh,
it's a better figure.
a better figure to
Yeah.
work off of. I see
More
what you're saying.
realistic.
Yes. And the other thing that they said was, sorry, you haven't gotten there yet.
Okay, town COLA, we estimate around 20,000. Fire COLA around 40,000. DPW COLA, it's 17.5. These are all estimates. We'll know,
Sorry, the police COLA is because the contract is.
and
so-
because of
Because of what?
post.
I don't know what that
The
is.
police certification law,
Okay, yes, yep.
that added 2% a year for the last so many years.
3 years, yep. So that's what we're gonna have to start paying this year, plus we have a retro pay, don't we have to
I'm going
retroactive
to be looking for the overlay surplus for the retro,
pay? How much is the retro?
500 and plus.
Yeah,
And you gotta realize that with the overlay surplus, one thing they have included in it is 400,000 plus for uncollected taxes. And we've collected, we've decreased the uncollected taxes to 82,000, is it, Nick?
I think 68 now.
68 now. So we've taken it from almost 500,000 down, but they're still including it in the compensation of the overlay. So rather than leave that money out
There
there,
is it, you need it.
yep, exactly, we need to use it. And there's plenty in the overlay above and beyond anything they'd ever need. Nick, what was the overlay expenditure per year?
The average,
Yep,
it was about 70.
and we've been putting 200 or 250,000 in a year. Utilities, we're estimating about 100,000. That's heat and electric, it's all of the utilities. Elections is 40,000 because of the presidential elections. And then they said the bus contract for the school, they're estimating an increase of 400,000. Did they give you a different figure?
Yep, please hold.
Please hold. Your call is important.
Your call is important to us, so please hold while I look.
Why so much of an increase
Of
on the
the,
school buses?
because there are very few school bus companies, and for
Yeah.
whatever reason, when they bid out the things, it seems like this company gets it and the 2 or 3 others don't. And then in the next town, company B gets it and the 2 or 3 others don't. And the next municipality, company C gets the contract.
How many
So-
buses
That's
do we
one
have?
heck
of an increase.
Yeah, well, you got insurance and,
Fuel
yeah.
costs of the
I
driver.
remember a couple of years ago, it was fuel.
And most, they play catch-up because they bid and then they ride it for a couple of years and then, you know, they come back and get you on it
They're
because
not adding monitors again, are they?
I have no idea, but a lot of districts are looking at putting a bus fee in.
A bus
Fee,
fee?
a modest one.
So during the meeting, transportation increase was estimated between 10 and 40%. So they were using the 40% just to be conservative, but the estimate that was said during the meeting was 10 to 40.
It won't be 10.
It won't be 10, I agree, it won't be 10. And Dr. Bailey did mention something about a user fee.
So, and as I said,
We
these,
charge grade 7 and up though, for
Okay.
user fees for
Well,
buses.
That's not very helpful
No,
then.
it's not.
Okay.
You can charge high school, but where we bus Acushnet buses to high schools outside of the town of Acushnet, I don't know that that would be eligible. I would
Gotcha.
have to get, you'd have to get Desi's opinion on that, but I would say that they would probably say no.
So
that
the
you can't
fee is
charge a
only
fee.
within the
So
town
it'd be
borders?
grade 7, yes, so it would be anyone, grade 7 and 8, I think the law is grade 6, you have to provide transportation to. And it could be within, like, I wanna say it's 2 miles.
Certain radius,
Sure, some revenue, but I don't know
not a lot.
how much, and there's also the additional effort that would need to be expended to collect it, so, and
the fee in a lot of communities is not for revenue. It's to make the parents sit there and choose whether they're gonna use the bus or drive the kids. And now they can sit there and drive them every day of the week, and you're still paying for the
So with the
bus.
thought being that it's gonna cut back on buses and,
Or at least size of buses,
Yeah.
not so much the routes or the number, but the size. And there's no way to know now.
how many buses do we have? Just out of curiosity.
10 or 11, I think.
Anyway, it's about $1,600,000, and we've got about 800,000, is really what it comes down to, real round figures.
How does that compare to last year's initial? Are we
We're,
similar close?
we're about 500,000 last year before we
The
started.
other thing that we were made aware of, sorry, that there is, it looks like there's gonna be a special ed placement with severe needs, estimating at $100,000 cost. You know about this? Okay.
No, I didn't, but
Oh,
we haven't had,
the school was notified, the parents called, they're moving in.
we haven't had the meeting with the school yet.
So that's another 100,000.
With or without transportation.
All she said was special ed placement, 100,000. So that doesn't sound like it probably covers transportation, does it?
Services here,
Okay.
services here, services out of district, transportation, and does transportation include a nurse along with? So you're looking at,
I mean, transportation could even get up to 100,000 for a student, depending if there's a nurse, depending how far that student's going. It's just the per day routes that vendors are charging now could range anywhere from, I'm seeing $300 to $500 a day.
Okay.
So that's for
Even if-
one student.
Even more if they have to have one-on-one
Yes, and a
supervision,
monitor.
one-on-one up in
right.
Boston, back and forth.
Right, yeah, so the highest I've seen is $500 a day recently, and that's not very far.
What's the requirements to be a vendor for that?
Well, it depends, you have to have a 7D license, if you're just driving a 7D vehicle, but if you're driving a school bus, you have to be licensed as a school bus driver, have your CDL if you're driving a big bus.
I gotta get into this.
Yeah, all the only notations made was depending on if when student moves in district, transportation costs will flux based on placement location.
yeah,
But that she did say, well, it was said during the meeting, family reached out saying they are moving to Acushnet. So it seemed more of a certainty than just if. It seems more like a when, not an if.
and it's elementary.
Wow, yeah. That's all I know. Yeah.
So that's the first round.
So we're about $700,000, no, we're $1 million higher in deficit.
Anywhere from 8 to $1 million.
Yeah, higher than last year's deficit when we started out.
You said 500,000.
We were about 500,000 at the first
Pass.
last year,
Okay.
so $500,000 more.
Oh, gosh, yeah. I don't know about that.
And part of it is no growth.
So when we had our November meeting, right, what did we have in cash to spend in those articles
For free cash,
for free cash?
so you can't spend it on operating.
No. Humor me. I was asked this question. I said I'd get the answer.
Well, we've got about 450 left in free cash,
It's like 1.2, I think, right?
and we spent about 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in-
At that fall town meeting.
So in the fall town meeting, and have we identified where the free cash came from? Meaning, how much of that was turned back from?
Off the top of my head, I can't give it to you,
Yep,
but yes, we had those figures.
free cash 1.5.
That was at the 10-4 meeting.
Okay, so it was 1.5. I think it would be helpful to,
We have, it's about 600,000, I think, was turned back, right, Nick?
So we have 1,563,000, and we spent down to 453,000 remaining.
Yeah, but of the source of the 1.5,
yeah,
600,000 approximately was turned back.
Yeah, a lot of so the majority of it's from like unspent budgets or a lot of the uncollected from the taxes,
Yeah, so,
excess revenues. That's why you
yeah,
typically want to budget modestly with revenues, so that way you have some capital to spend on
totally.
that.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly the question is, are we being too conservative? You're preaching to the choir. Are we being too conservative, right? And I explained, well, if you want to have money for your capital expenditures, you can't spend everything on living expenses. Then you'll never be able to maintain buildings, buy equipment, blah, blah, blah.
And the
Okay?
issue is when one of those falls out, where do you go?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As soon as you lose a revenue source, now it hits the tax.
I totally agree.
we,
I just didn't have the answer to, I didn't know all the
we've done a
details.
lot of one-time fixes that resulted in revenue in the investment area. and that-
Specifically for last year,
Yeah,
yes. I think it would be helpful just to kind of, nice little whatever those revenue sources are,
Yeah.
and then that way,
well, you've got
when
it.
I get asked again, because it's not if, it's a when.
Oh, you mean for free cash?
Yeah, just an estimate, right? Because I totally agree, you don't overestimate revenue, because then you're in hot water.
Well, you can see it in part of in the sheet we gave you, where, for example, the, licenses and permits are up around 200,000, and we traditionally estimate 150 to 175. Investment income, we were traditionally, prior to the new finance team being put in place, you were down around 35, we spiked it up to 160,000. We're not as rosy this year, we're being conservative at 65. A lot of the other sources, you're not gonna hit as much as you have in the past, and we're worried about the motor vehicle excise tax.
So for fiscal year 2024,
The recap is what's budgeted. 24 actuals is where we are as of.
yeah, that's exactly the number that's like screaming out at me. It's $1.2 million lower. Is that?
Because the bills go out in
Okay.
February.
I'm like, Well, you're not gonna get any more out of this house, let me tell you. So the bills haven't gone up yet, okay.
No, yeah, it'll be February.
Good, I'm glad I didn't miss my. But my numbers are going down, my cars are 3 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Why
where,
don't you buy new cars? Help us
I
out.
did, I helped the town out in 2020 when I bought 3 new cars.
Mm-hmm.
Not
bought-
doing that again.
What have you
How
done
about
for
you?
us lately?
no, the real problem is people are ordering new cars and being told
You
you've
have to
got
wait.
12 months for delivery,
Yeah.
but you can pay
I don't
now.
think that's going on anymore though.
It is if
'Cause
you
I was down
want.
at a dealer and I could pick up pretty much anything off the lot I wanted.
Yeah, but you gotta,
Yeah, off
if you
the lot.
want, yeah, but if you want a particular color or
Yeah, yeah. You'll
a
wait.
package or whatever, you've gotta order
Yeah,
it.
Jeeps are on back order for like 4 to 6 months.
So it's not rosy, but it's, I think, as far as looking at what the town side needs to save with paring budgets down, pulling rabbits out of the hat like the insurance thing, I think we can move the town side down to the 40%, which I believe is the town share of this deficit. We can move the town down and the town side will not be in deficit. I do not know about the schools. We haven't met with them yet. They know that we're expecting the schools to do approximately a 60% reduction of Budget Busters impact.
When was
That's
that
being polite.
communicated?
It was communicated to Patrick
When, yeah, just,
the last month to 6 weeks.
I see that.
yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, their starting point is at like an 8% increase. That's, unrealistic.
Yeah, but that's
I
usually
do
how that
believe
goes.
my exact words were, no way in hell, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's usually how that goes.
That's not figuring the little bump they got last year, is it, that 700,000 that they got from the state? Remember Kevin Gaspar was
Yeah,
mentioning
because
that?
that amount of state aid is not gonna be available this
Right.
time.
Oh, no, it'll be
But
part
there
of
is-
the base of Chapter 70, we've been told. Yes, it'll be part of the
So,
base.
right, so, yeah. So
But that
in theory-
doesn't mean they'll get another 700,000.
No, but that's their starting point. It's
Yeah.
based on that number.
Yes,
Yeah, so you can't plan a budget based on that one-time big
Yeah.
amount of state aid.
no, but that will stay, we've been told in Chapter 70. That bump will stay.
So they're still gonna get the 700,000 again?
No,
No, like,
it's not an additional 700, it's now in their base of Chapter 7.
Okay, so, all right, so if we look at this, so chapter 70 for fiscal year 2024 is 7,170, right?
Yep.
It's estimated to be 7385, so they're getting a bump up of 215.
3%, yeah.
3%, that's the money that they're going to get, right? So they utilized all the money last year, right? So at the end of the day, they're gonna get an extra $215,000 in state aid.
They're looking for 8, then,
That's
They're
what
looking for 8?
no, 8% you said.
Yeah, but that's a $1.2 million increase.
Yeah, so they can't keep 700 in their base.
Now, the state has said that the increase last year, which was the 700,000, is going to stay in is going to be the base of Chapter 7.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, you're saying that they're gonna start with 7.1 million?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
right, so that is that.
Okay, so, all
But
right.
then whatever the regular increase,
okay.
which, sometimes it's just a minimum per pupil contribution, which is what is it, 30 or 60,000 per pupil or whatever, it's something.
Well, they said
yes, like, so that could be smaller than the 3%.
And they said it because of, as you know, because of sped students versus non-sped.
Right, so it just depends
Various
on how all the,
English language learners.
right, how the enrollment shakes out
Yeah,
with the foundation. So I think they probably got more money based on some of those categories last year, correct? Because of the.
well, everybody did.
Right,
Yeah.
well, I know Dartmouth didn't. Dartmouth had they stayed pretty much just with the minimum because of their foundation, but,
Yeah. The real problem.
yeah. I mean, well, like you said, we'll know in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
right?
the 2 weeks will be.
We'll know what chapter
What
70 is
chapter
gonna
70
be.
is.
We'll know what the minimum, most likely, of chapter 70,
But-
notwithstanding a total financial meltdown of the state, because the governor's figures are usually the lowest.
So is it fair to say that and for full disclosure, they said that this is extremely preliminary, they're still working through all the numbers. But if this is anywhere close, if they want a $1.2 million increase and chapter 70 goes up by 2 million, the town needs to foot the other million. Is that fair?
If,
Right, are we
No.
thinking,
you said if they're looking for 1.2 million,
yeah,
and chapter 70 goes up 200,000,
yes, 200, then
they're
they're looking.
looking for a
Us
million.
to, so they're looking to us, right, they bring it down to layman's terms, right? So,
Brass taxes is $1 million.
right, so they're looking to $1 million for us to fund somewhere.
So going back to what we
This
spent.
does include 300,000 increase for transportation, so that number could shake down lower.
So that's where that question was posed about what we spent at fall town meeting, right?
Yeah,
So, but that is so unrealistic.
But
We
you
can't,
can't-
we can't factor that into an operating budget,
yeah.
right? I mean, it's
Right.
just
But,
ridiculous.
And the rules have changed from 10 years ago. If you use free cash in an operating budget, DOR makes you do a 3-year plan to pay it back.
Mhm. At the end of the day, the excess free cash is where we use for capital expenditures, major items, right?
Or-
Like, it's not in our living expenses,
Right.
it's in, right, and that's and we always need to plan for that, we always need to, because there will always be something that needs to be done.
You need an ambulance, you need a,
Yeah.
You need equipment, you need,
you need a roof on the school.
yeah,
Oh, the last thing that I would ever want to see happen is asking our residents for an override to fund an operating budget.
no,
I mean, it's.
They would be
but-
in really bad shape then.
But I'll tell you, I mean, just the fixed costs from contractual salary increases and our pension system in this state, which is, archaic at best, that is really ruining things. I mean, you can't keep up the pace with that. Or the amount of revenue we generate is not gonna keep up with the pace of these salary increases and what we have to pay in pension benefits. At some point, the scale's gonna tip, right? I mean, it's just, something's gotta give
Well,
at some
at
point.
whether it's, depending on who you listen to, somewhere around 2040, let's say, just for round figures, the pension system is supposed to be sustainable. Because of the
Well,
people dying and the increase in the surcharge.
in my opinion, the way it should be is all new hires should go into a 401k.
Yeah, I don't want to.
They should go into a 401k, not with this current system that they have now, because it's easy to manipulate.
Well,
Right.
you and I both know you're not gonna get that because the politicians
Of
are
course.
part of this pension system.
Exactly.
And the judges are too.
Well, it's corrupt, it's a big game.
Just so the committee knows, today the finance department here sent out a memo that we are requesting as far as with filling out the budget templates for 2025, that salaries only include approved CBA increases, not any pending negotiations, that expenses be level funded except for contractual utilities or state or federal mandates. And then similar to last year, that's a starting point with the budget, and then you have a 5% and a 10% decrease budgets in expenses.
You didn't ask, don't we usually get a level budget and a level service? A comparison of the two?
I don't think you can afford a level service this year.
No?
You could call this a hybrid level service because you're allowing for the contractual raises and you're allowing for the mandated costs like utilities, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how these contractual raises can continue at this pace.
Well, the real problem with getting by post. Once you get by post, then from that point forward, you should be looking at not having the 2% per year for post.
Then when you keep falling behind on contract negotiations, now you got retroactive payouts that you gotta make too.
It's just a vicious circle, just keeps going.
Well, that's a killer
We
too,
don't do
you know, it's
COLAs
tough.
anymore.
I
We
mean,
don't
if
do
we can
raises
stay on
anymore.
top of contracts, so we don't get the retroactive hits.
Yes.
Well, the real problem you've got is beyond any contractual raises, is you've got no growth, and growth doesn't look like it's coming back anytime soon. So that's costing you $300,000 right there in revenue. And you're going to be looking at, this year, you're looking at $100,000 in increase in utility costs. It'll be $50,000 to $75,000 each year.
I mean, the bottom line is there's too much on the backs of our taxpayers. I mean, it's just getting out of control.
Kristen, if this, the special needs charge, is there any state aid to help fund that, or is that 100% the town?
You can file for circuit breaker, but that's, you spend the
You
money
spend it first and then
You
get it
spend
back.
first.
There's nothing else that,
Yes, it would be circuit breaker. Extraordinary relief is also circuit breaker. You have
Okay.
to spend that in the year you get it, but, so it would just really depend when that student moves in.
and really
how
what we're
much
talking
and
about.
whether, you know, you meet the threshold for that year. So it really just depends.
This is a perfect
You
storm
know,
year.
some grants, there are some grants that can fund tuitions, but those may already be being used for salaries or for other tuitions, because those don't go up too
Yeah.
This
much.
The thing is,
isn't even
The
including.
sped stabilization account,
No,
I
okay.
believe they
and
have
negotiations
here.
with
Yeah,
them.
what do we, Nick,
So
what do we
that
have in
could
the
be
sped
ratified this year, and that
stabilization
could go
account?
As well, right? Theoretically.
Well, you could,
That's
but
capped, but I
No, I'm
believe
just-
it's probably,
Yeah,
processing,
once
yeah.
money's been spent, it should be right around what
You
the cap
can't-
is.
I know, you
Yeah.
can't,
But that
yeah.
might, I mean, even if we spend it, we won't be able to replenish it, right? It's,
So
that's a
kind of
one-time
like-
hit.
Yeah,
That's a
so
one-time hit.
that's like for when you run out of your rabbits.
Yeah.
That's your
Not
that's your
sustainable.
last rabbit, I would say.
As long as there is no future payments for post, your police COLA would probably decrease by about 100,000. And this year's a bad year.
It's not like we weren't expecting this, like, we've been talking about this for like 2-3 years, like, you
Mhm.
just wait, it's coming, you just wait, and I think people were thinking like, oh, we're just like doomsdayers.
And we kept pulling rabbits out, and
And Esser's done. so
Yeah,
that
that's
has
the
to be
other
spent.
thing,
That has to be spent by September, so.
I hope they're not relying on any additional monies to fill the gap for Esser.
330,000.
What, in Esser?
No,
No,
stabilization.
Oh, sorry.
That goes. that
Nick,
goes
you're
up
like 5
yeah.
questions behind here.
Oh, I didn't know when to jump in.
Okay.
Oh,
I mean,
we keep going down this road, we're just gonna have to
Yeah,
empty all our stabilization accounts to fund the budget.
we can't do that. Bite your tongue.
I'm just kidding.
If you empty the stabilization, you can't touch OPEB. If you empty the stabilization account, the general stabilization account, and the economy goes the way I think it'll go, you'll be killed in bond prices.
I don't think we're
Because as
gonna
the
go that route anyway.
Well, I said that, so
Yeah.
anybody watching out there and listening could hear your answer.
Because if the economy goes, even if the economy gets better as far as borrowing mortgages, bond prices are still gonna go up. And if we do not have what the bond houses want in
It
stabilization,
hurts our credit rating.
Then
then our
Increases the
credit
interest.
rating is gonna get whacked.
The 10%.
But, and here's the thing, we've been able to, we're at that 10% in our stabilization.
Right,
but
we're
that
at a
also-
perfect number.
Yeah.
But that also, because our budget goes up every year,
We have
10%
to add to
gets
it.
bigger, so we have to add to it every year if we wanna keep that going.
Yep. And you're at over $1 million in OPEB, which they look at too.
Okay.
Well, we can't be alone. I mean, other
No.
towns gotta be.
Uh,
I do know that Shrewsbury a couple of years ago did an override.
The problem,
Mansfield.
Oh, did they too?
No,
The-
Fairhaven
What's
last
on
year,
there?
yeah.
well, Mansfield did the building.
To fund their operating
The
budget?
you've gotta the one thing you've gotta remember is when you look at all these towns, discern between a debt exclusion for buildings and an override, which just increases your tax levy.
Yeah, above 2.5.
A debt exclusion goes away when you've paid for the building.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Are you hearing anything from Old Colony though? Because I know are they in the pipeline for a new
Oh,
school
yeah,
building?
they're-
So that's-
they're
We
probably
talked about that last year.
They're probably 2 years, 3 years down.
Yeah, because we spent
Did the
that
study
money
last
For
year,
the
right?
to the
feasibility
study, feasibility study, yes.
Oh, yeah, they're right
Right.
coming down the pike.
Whether it's gonna be just a rehab of the existing school or a
An
brand
addition.
new.
In addition or a new building.
Right.
Yeah. And you're looking at least 50% increase in building costs.
So I remember years ago, this became an issue when we were looking at Old Colony's budget. And the selectmen were in a tizzy because of the increase that we had year over year. And it was almost exclusively dedicated to exclusively related to the borrowing that was done for the science lab and the roof. Okay, and so it went from everybody's in a tizzy because of the increase in how can we justify it, and I said, I don't understand why it doesn't matter when the town borrows, we don't look at it, but yet for Old Colony, we're looking at it. Okay, and I remember it wasn't Pam, it was Pam's predecessor, they're like, well, if that's the reason why, then okay. I'm like, that's the reason why, so I wanna be careful, like with Old Colony, whenever we get to that point, that we're not all of a sudden throwing them under the bus or causing issues because of borrowings and things. I wanna make sure that for Old Colony, it's, when we're looking at it, we're comparing, it needs to be apples to apples. And so for debt, if there's debt exclusion for us, there's gotta be comparable for
And
them.
it's multiple districts across the state
Yeah.
are doing it now. Multiple VOTEC districts are either building or in
Addition.
the process. So and it fills a huge gap in the workforce. I mean, if you look at the memo I gave, some of the background figures, you look at how we're losing young people in migration, and we're not able to fill a lot of jobs that we need to fill just to keep our infrastructure running. But beyond that, Old Colony is turning out to be your high school.
Yes.
You've got the largest group in, among all the
The number of
towns.
communities of member towns.
We always have. Acushnet has
No.
always had the majority.
But you've got
Budget.
a large, I think it could be 40%.
Yes, yeah.
Well, and it's because the trades have become so
Yeah.
much more popular, because these kids can make some good money right out of school and not be loaded with debt from going to a 4-year undergrad that's overpriced and.
Beyond that,
Mhm.
and I know it's counterintuitive, the highest success rate for kids going to 4-year colleges are out of the VOTEC schools right now.
When's this study supposed to be?
Some, Blackstone Valley, places like that, they have the higher MCAS scores and everything else of all the schools in the area.
Well, and Old Colony does need to expand their program there because they don't have an HVAC program.
They don't.
They don't have plumbing, so they're limited there. So, I mean, there's probably kids in this town that want to take that up, and they can't because they don't have it available. So, I mean,
They could go to the Medford vote.
They
no,
Can't.
they can't, no, they can't, and they cannot. There's so much,
I point blank asked that
They
question.
cannot go.
Because I know
No.
if your Vokes Tech doesn't offer it, the
They-
other
they still
community,
can't.
if there's room.
no, vote, New
If
Bedford
there's
vote.
If
room.
there's room.
I
Yeah,
point
but they're
blank
not.
asked that question
And then-
when my son was in
Right.
8th grade and was told no.
They are not.
And I was the Old
It's
Colony liaison, and I was said, yeah, no.
Because there's
Talk
no,
about this.
there's no room in a
In that
number,
specific shop.
Yeah.
in
that
that
shop.
specific
If
shop.
It's at the
Right.
discretion of the school, and New Bedford Voc is not doing that.
The,
They're not doing
You would be amazed at the amount of kids that are going to 4-year programs out of the VOTEC, like computer aided design programs.
A lot of medical. too.
Yeah,
Yeah. My nephew went to Old Colony Engineering.
My
From
son,
what?
my grandson, he just graduated.
When's the study supposed to be done?
Oh,
For what?
No, man, he went to Medford vote.
Oh, went to.
Medford vote.
I don't
Then he
know.
went to thing, he did master's degree in
because
engineering.
you gotta remember
He
those,
gets money now.
the Mass School Building Assistants can ask you to tweak it along the way.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember when it was supposed to be done.
that. Mr. Kelly, anything else to add to what you've already given us? Because I know there probably is, but I want to get into, when we start having departments come in
All right.
and setting our
I
schedule.
would like to suggest, the schedule I was given said you were meeting on the 24th of January.
It's tentative,
Yeah,
right,
I think that's too soon for the departments.
okay.
I would suggest that you also start with the public safety departments.
On the third, you said you're thinking like 31st?
Yes.
So 31st, we would have fire, EMS, EMA come in,
Mhm.
police. So those two departments?
Yeah, fire, police, EMA, animal control, and Board of Health, right? Board of Health. And if you don't get it all done on the 31st, morph it over to the 7th. And then Human Services and Cultural on the 14th.
All right, hang on a minute. let's go back to, the 7th.
Whatever you don't get done in public safety on the 31st, finish it in the 7th.
Finish it.
I think it's gonna take
Well,
more
the way,
than,
yeah, I think cramming all those into one night is probably gonna be too much.
yeah.
So I'd rather split that up, into something like, maybe police and EMS and then fire and animal control. That kind, don't you guys think
Yeah.
that would work better?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I
Police and
think I think you should start the discussion of making dispatch a separate department, even though the department head would be the police chief.
So did we, so January 31st,
I think,
police, EMA, right?
Yeah,
And then 7th, fire, animal control, and board of health.
alright, so 131, police, EMA,
7th, fire, animal, B of H.
I'm fire.
fire, EMS, EMA, they're all together
Oh.
here.
Yeah, Board of Health. Police, animal control, Board of Health.
So let's start from the beginning here.
Yeah, so
So
scratch out,
So January 31st.
police and a discussion of splitting dispatch into a separate department, but still with the same department head.
Why is that?
Because it's a lot easier to track things, it's a lot easier for, with grants and everything else.
and do we want to move one of those?
And they're
roles?
separate unions and the whole bit.
I think animal control, board of health, we could do that, and one other,
On the 7th you're talking now?
yeah,
Fire, animal control, and board of health.
Board of health, yeah.
alright, so
And
that's,
EMA's under fire,
Right,
so,
so fire, EMS, EMA
yeah,
on the
That's-
7th, animal control, board of health on the 7th. So police on the 31st, and that's
right.
it. Okay,
yeah, because that's gonna be big enough.
okay.
Because you can also look at the police MOA that night too, because there's gonna be an article.
Seventh is the weekend.
The 7th is fire, EMS, EMA,
Yeah.
and animal control.
Because there'll be
You
an,
can, if you just use you can use that and then just fill in the dates.
there'll be an article on the police contract. So you might as well, when you're doing the police, at least begin discussion on that. Because it impacts on the budget.
Mhm.
So at least we can explain what the provisions, the changes of the contract are.
Alright, so we're gonna cover, when the police come in, we're gonna cover dispatch, and then the new contract. Okay? So will their union representative be at that, to discuss that, or?
No, it'd just be management and,
Okay. Alright, so the next Wednesday would be the 14th, which is Valentine's Day.
I'd say human services and cultural.
Well, wait a minute. Eric might have want to take out his wife on Valentine's Day, so I don't know.
He's
I
in
might have-
enough
I
trouble.
might have to take out my wife on Valentine's Day.
And the following week is school vacation week.
Yeah, I know. So I think,
Yeah, so.
well,
I'm fine.
Valentine's Day on a Wednesday, that's no big deal.
It's not a real holiday.
Yeah, you get-
Yeah, right?
Go out on the weekend.
So what were we gonna do on
She
Valentine's
knows already.
Day?
I'll take her out on the Friday or Saturday.
Human services and cultural.
On the 14th? So that's,
There are not
What
really
is
a
it?
lot of changes in those budgets.
Okay.
where do I see that on this list here?
Cultural,
Cultural.
huh? I don't
I'm
remember that.
using the DOR determinants. Nick, you want to fill in what the departments are?
We have the departments we have here.
Oh,
We have
wait.
Conservation,
So cultural is library?
Cultural's library.
Historical.
all right,
Here, give me you got a list?
Yeah, this makes more sense.
We don't even have historical on here.
No, the budget list
Yeah.
of departments.
Yeah, I can see library on the 14th.
Yeah,
I think Kathy put it up, didn't she?
Yeah, I have it right here.
This is right, got it.
Yeah.
Can I
But none of
read
those
over the
are-
shoulder? And I'll
they're-
turn it.
What we have,
I'll
let's
put
Right,
it so a
right.
normal human being.
I never
can
heard
see
of
it.
culture, that's a new term for
That
me.
bigger?
I
Yeah.
mean, that's a line item in the budget.
Yeah.
Well, council on
For
aging, that's gonna be
cultural,
home, right? So
but-
that's a,
Council on Aging, Library,
On the 14th.
Park Department,
Yeah.
scroll down, is that it?
that's it.
So those three on the 14th.
Nothing big expected out of any of them, right?
Shouldn't be.
No.
That should be pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Oh, what about you wanna throw in planning board with that, or no? Do
No.
planning and building together? And
Yeah.
maybe with conservation?
I'd suggest, on the 28th,
Yeah, because we're not gonna meet the 21st.
on the 28th, you do planning, building, conservation, stormwater,
Well, that's part of conservation, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
and the school on the 6th.
March 6th.
we're jumping to the school already? That's kinda early, isn't it? We didn't meet with assessors, golf, DPW, town clerk, board of
Well, I was trying to
You
put
put
the
golf
school.
on the 14th,
Yeah, we could.
that'll be the big date.
You
expended
could,
there, Chris.
yeah, you could put golf on the 14th.
Every guy wants to go golfing, I'm gonna.
But the,
Valentine's
I think the school has to come in earlier than they traditionally do, because that's gonna be the
You know,
problem.
colony's usually separate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Alright, so
and I do,
we got assessors, town clerk,
I look at that as all general government, all the,
board of selectmen.
yeah.
So what date?
I would say general government on the 13th.
So March 13th.
Board of Health is on the public safety one.
So assessors, town clerk, and board of selectmen on the 13th. Alright, so that leaves us DPW,
Old Colony.
Old Colony, and our schools. Well, our schools was March 6th, you said?
Yep,
Yeah, and you could probably bring Old Colony in on that, and then
Yeah, I
DPW.
think, didn't Old
We did it
Colony-
last year.
We did,
Yeah.
yeah, Aaron came in
Yeah,
the same day, bless you.
bless you.
Alright,
As a school?
yeah,
And DPW on the 20th,
so that's the last one.
yeah. And with general government, I'll bring in the joint accounts. The benefits.
Okay,
Are we,
so then after that, we would have our, usually 2 weeks of deliberations.
Now,
that'd be enough this year.
now with everything
I don't know.
with everything that is going on with holidays and elections and everything, I've had a discussion with the town clerk and the moderator, and we were looking at the 3 possible dates for town meeting were April 22nd, April 29th, and June 3rd, right, Nick?
We go from
Third.
April
That's
to
a big
June.
difference.
Because May, you've got elections and the way the holidays are
Yep,
falling.
I gotcha.
And tax day in April, and then the presidential election.
Can we not talk tax day, please? Yeah.
In March. Well, you get an extra day this year, right?
Extend my torture, why don't
The moderator and town clerk are looking for right now for the selectmen to schedule town meeting on June 3rd.
I was gonna say, I think the later the better.
we? Yeah.
That way
Gives us
we'll
more
know
time.
the numbers.
Yeah, it gives
Exactly.
us some time too,
Mhm.
To really,
so we're not jammed.
Yeah.
totally,
The meeting for the schools, are we doing that at a joint meeting? We stopped doing that, or with the selectmen and with
I
the
think,
school
what
committee?
I would like to do this year is just have us meet with them.
Us meet with who?
The
Just the
schools.
school committee
Yeah.
without the selectmen?
Yeah,
Yes.
because the selectmen, once you come up with your recommendation, then that goes to the selectmen for them to hold their hearings if they want to hold.
Okay, I just know that we had that joint meetings in the past.
Yeah.
I think that was when everything was all jammed up. But you've got time this year.
We just don't have money. You can have money and no time, or you can have time and no money. You can't have both.
It's just a small technicality.
Send them money.
oh my gosh.
Well, you better start playing Megabucks and, you know?
Wasn't
Well,
that
you
a
think if
beer
we win, we're gonna donate
commercial
to
at
the
one
town?
point?
What's that?
Wasn't that a beer commercial at one point?
Oh.
You get the time and money.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't
Oh,
know.
Yeah.
Alright, so it looks like we got a tentative schedule set, so I'll convey this to Kathy. The other thing I wanted to go over tonight was liaison roles. Pete indicated that he wants to remain as the liaison to Old Colony. I think Sue and I will remain as liaisons to the school department. Eric, were you a liaison for any department?
Last year it wasn't.
No.
Before I
Oh,
was.
Bob is liaison to golf.
Yeah.
You can have the golf if you want to.
You don't want to do it anymore?
No, not really.
Do you want to be, you want to be golf?
What's your handicap?
What's my handicap? I don't golf.
His personality.
Wow.
Or,
It's a dig.
oh, you know, Kristen, I don't know, would you want to be golf, or would that not be a good idea? Because
Oh,
Because
no, I
David-
don't
yeah.
know about that.
Yeah, all right, yeah. Okay.
You really want to, he wants to have more dates, that's
Right,
what Dave knows.
right.
All right, so,
I'm sure I'll
Who's not-
get.
I usually,
get
well,
about
like,
it.
the last time I did library and stay away, but I can't do, well, now I can do stay away.
I mean, Eric, were
Yeah,
you
you can go
liaison?
them all.
DPW.
Not yet.
So did you, like, have any extra meetings with them last year at all?
I've reached out to Dan.
Yeah?
Over the years. and-
Okay.
Golf committee.
I never hear
every
anything from
meeting- every
anyone.
meeting that they have.
I mean, I'd like to stay,
A lot
but
of the- A lot of the departments, they have meetings and the finance committee don't even show up for them. But the golf committee, you're part of the thing, actually, you're on both,
Well, I can't take on any more
I'll stay on,
stuff.
I'll stay on, makes no difference.
It's a lean year, so they're not gonna be really that, if the changes are gonna be there, it's gonna be decreasing the expense
It's not
budget.
that, well, it's not that, it's just the time commitment, you know?
Mm-hmm.
No, I meant as far as with a lot of the
Okay.
departments, it's not going to be where they're coming in advocating for something.
Right.
They're gonna be looking at how,
I mean, I think the biggest one is knowing what's going on with our schools,
Yeah.
you know? Because that takes, their budget takes up,
60%.
yeah, more than half the town budget now, so.
who's fire EMS in place?
Maybe was that Mr. St. Jean? Did he do that last year?
I think so.
Both?
Yeah, I think he did.
I think he did. I think that was Bob.
Do you wanna stay with that?
I haven't had that conversation with him, so I'll have to ask
I mean,
him.
if he, I help out with fire EMS, I mean, I came from EMS, so, I mean, if he wants,
Well,
Mike, you can put me wherever, I'll go wherever.
The biggest thing with EMS is, not this year, but the year coming up,
Eric, do you want to do
is
it?
looking at the next ambulance.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that instead of library?
Yeah. Why not?
And Kristen, would you want to do
I
library?
don't know how that plays in because
Okay.
of EMA, but if I do EMA.
I don't think it
All right, let me,
that's not a major issue.
Because I know I have to abstain from EMA stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, This year, everybody should abstain from everything.
This year we should
Is there
what?
a new library director?
Yes.
I said everybody should abstain from everything. This is your bad year as far as some of the major stuff. If you didn't have the spikes,
If we had been,
We say that every year though.
Yeah, I was
but I
gonna
think
say,
if
that's
we
how
had
we
been a little
started.
bit more
reading it.
diligent in the
Yeah.
earlier years and not just thought about this year and thought about what the long-term impact is, it wouldn't have been so bad,
yeah,
right? But I think that's part of it.
you're going to have
We
some,
think too short, we're too short-sighted.
yeah, you're year to year.
That's like statewide, nationwide.
I know, but then this is when we find ourselves in these pickles, right? Like, you know, like
I mean, how much of a deficit is the state?
We have a small town and everybody in the town wants all the benefits. Trash removal, they want all of that.
And what really
All the-
stinks
all the-
about it is
all
we
the
don't
towns.
have any source of revenue other than property taxes. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't have anything in this town.
Well,
We
that's
have
what
a
I'm saying.
moratorium on a lot of
If
things.
somebody wants to build a business, they need to, that's the old town timers, they don't want no part of that. They wanna keep the green pastures. and-
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we're gonna have to start growing some green pastures.
Yeah,
You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you, we have a moratorium on that.
That could,
Well,
that could bring in some
We need to
revenue.
go back on that, I think.
That could bring in some revenue.
Actually, I think what you folks did as far as the over 55 zoning and some other things over the last couple of years will, in the next 5 years, benefit the town as far as growth and income.
No, we got that to look forward to, next couple of years.
And one subdivision is filed recently, so you're gonna you'll see your growth figures coming back up. And if you could average 400,000 to 500,000 in growth a year, that would take care of part of the problem.
When they come in and present the budgets, what about capital expenditures? Can we get a sense of what capital expenditures would be or capital needs? Do we have a good idea on that?
You're about, I think you're a year out on doing what we did the last time with the ambulance,
Yeah,
for the second
Well, I mean,
ambulance.
I hope DPW has like nothing,
Mm.
because we've spent a lot of money
We've
on
spent a
DPW
lot
in the
of
last
money.
several
And
years.
your police cars are in your budget.
yeah.
Mhm.
So as far as the buildings go, yeah, we're keeping them together with,
The
Duct
roof,
tape and glue?
yeah,
roof, school roofing?
but I'm not talking the school
Yeah.
side. But with the town, if I could shake the state tree and
Yeah.
pull in an earmark here and there, that takes care of a roof here or there or something like that. And hopefully the person who replaces me will know to do that too.
You leaving?
Mhm.
He's gonna retire at some point, right?
18 months.
Really?
Yeah, but you've been saying that for 10.
No, my contract expires in 18 months.
Okay.
He's
Yeah.
gonna fulfill his contract just like Bill Belichick is, right?
Yep. I'm fulfilling my contract and that's it.
You're not seeking an,
I'll be 75, I'm gonna retire.
so you still got a few, more left in you, huh?
Eric, do you want to be working at 75?
No, I don't wanna be working at 62.
We're not working now.
Just wanna be alive, just wanna be alive at
60 is my
75, right?
magic number.
I retired at 79.
60?
60 is
Yeah.
my magic number.
171 days.
The life expectancy of accountants post-retirement is not good, so. Believe
And
it
we,
or not.
That's because they
I'm in
become
70.
race car drivers.
No, that's because of the stress.
I'm semi-retired right now.
so we don't even know anything, we're not even gonna discuss anything about articles and.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be that many articles as far as the town side goes with the capital. There might be a couple minor. My advice would be if you've got any extra free cash, stash it into the various stabilization funds They're your rainy
What
day
do you mean,
bank.
free cash this year? Are you out of your mind? This, where?
Where's there gonna be free cash?
Yeah,
I'm just saying, you've
Yeah.
got 450,000 out there right now. You've
yeah,
got to find out what's going on with the ventilation system at the school.
yeah,
And the question is really whether that hits this year or next year.
yeah.
Because that's, more than likely, that's gonna be an article to pay for that.
But the question is it this year? Will they have the plans and everything done in time for this
Yeah.
town
Mhm.
meeting? Or is it put off till next year?
I think it's too soon. Plans take a while.
This is something you gotta do right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, they might take a while.
This can't be a Band-Aid to a
Yeah.
Band-Aid to a wrap to a, you know, all
That's
of a
what
sudden.
I'm saying, plans gonna take a while, because they're gonna
Like-
go right, they gotta.
Yeah,
Cross
so
the
you
Ts
know.
and dot the Is on everything.
Sue and I are part of the steering committee.
Yep.
That has been meeting with the school regularly.
It's too bad they schedule it on Tuesday when the town side individuals have
Can't go, yeah.
have selectmen meeting.
Yeah, I mean.
It's also the day that I go into Boston.
Sue and I we weren't able to attend the school committee meeting yesterday.
But they were gonna talk about the solar,
But it's televised, so I'm gonna watch it and get the information that way.
yeah,
But the solar,
yeah.
do they have connectivity?
I'll watch the meeting and see, I couldn't make it.
All right, folks, I'd say we wrap this up. So we covered, our budget, we got our budget schedule set. Hopefully the departments can come in on those dates. So that could be subject to change depending on department availability. We got our liaison assignments set. Does anybody have any old business to discuss? Is there any new business? All right, so we have some meeting minutes to approve from October 11th, 2023. In attendance was myself, Pete Benoit, Eric Chu, Bob Ferrera, Kristen Flynn, Eric McGlynn, and Bob St. Jean.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those minutes are approved. Next meeting date will be January 31st, and we're expected to have fire, EMS, animal control. Oh no, wait a minute. I was looking at that.
Police.
Police,
Police. Okay, so we're gonna be meeting with police first meeting. So we have a few weeks off here to
rest,
rest. Everybody can get healthy, myself included.
And hopefully we'll have the governor's numbers by then.
perfect.
That would be nice.
And one thing I did want to discuss is, if for some reason I can't make a meeting and I can't hold a meeting, I know Sue would be the next in line to run the meeting. I think it would be a good idea to have a backup also to Sue, to have somebody be able to run a meeting in case.
This, Bob St. Jean, you said you,
Yeah.
Bob, I know Bob could do it, but sometimes his availability is not there.
It's usually for a committee like this, it goes down the seniority ladder.
That's what I was figuring, yes.
So the seniority ladder,
Well, after vice chair.
yeah,
So after vice chair, then it
Bob.
would be Bob, right, or Mr.
Bob,
St.
it would be
Jean.
Bob St. Jean.
It would be Bob St. Jean and then yourself. So if you had to, you could run a meeting, right?
Run green in the,
Yeah.
yeah,
There you go.
Lions Club, President of Lions Club, run meetings.
I shouldn't have a conflict as long as we don't run into April, and running into April's where,
And
we've got plenty of time too.
finance will be available to staff.
And all of our meetings going forward will be in the Board of Selectmen meeting room downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've told people, selectmen and FinCom take precedence over all
Right, we're
other
not gonna get
boards.
bumped, we're not gonna get bumped anymore. I mean, we have used the police station in the past, which is
This is
great.
actually the finance committee room.
Yeah, this is the finance.
Right, from years ago,
Well, this is fine,
right?
this is fine in this setting when we're just meeting like this, but if we're having a department come
It's,
in,
it's awkward.
it's not big enough.
Yeah.
Or you have an audience one to see
Yeah,
what's happening.
Exactly,
Yeah.
so, okay, I think we covered everything.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Good night.